Recording in progress.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Emily. We'll get started with our meeting tonight. We want to welcome everyone. This is our West Haven City Council meeting. And thanks for braving the storm and coming out here tonight. We normally have more people than this at our council meeting, so we appreciate this small crowd tonight. But thank you for being here, everyone. We're glad that the staff is here and our council members that are all here as well. So thank you for everyone being here tonight. We'll get started with our start of our meeting overall. Our opening ceremonies, our Pledge of Allegiance will be by Councilmember Saunders, and our prayer or moment of silence will be with Councilmember Schwab.
Okay, I'd like to ask the audience, please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight as a city to conduct business on behalf of the city. We thank thee for the moisture that we are receiving. We thank thee for all of the residents attending tonight in person and on Zoom. We ask that you help guide our decisions tonight to be in the best interest of all residents. And we ask for these things in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Saunders and Councilmember Schwab. We'll move on to our next item on our agenda, item 3. This is for public presentation. Residents attending this meeting will be allotted 2 minutes to express a concern or ask a question about any issue that is not on the agenda. No action can or will be taken on any issue that is presented at this time. Do we have anyone that would like to come forward at this time? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Mike Formica. I live at 4416 West, 3600 South in Green Farms. And what I'd like to present to the council is thank you for giving me the time tonight to speak. But I have a couple of things I'd like to present to you guys, if I may. So this first one is your setback variance for different size lots. And this is my property, and this is some other properties that are in West Haven. I'll put it like that. And so basically what I'm asking for consideration is, I know that recently before I happened to move to West Haven from Liberty, the setback rules were different, and you all voted on them and made a change to where, like, for instance, my property has a 10-foot setback rule. And because I'm on a corner lot, you can see by the picture I showed you, I have limited space in my backyard to build what I'd like to put back there is an RV storage for my fifth wheel. And so I'm asking that reconsideration might be taken into account for certain type lots. I know I can do it with like a variance, an application for a variance, but what I've shown you is there are other properties in West Haven where they built under the previous rules where the setback was 5 foot to the fences and to both sides of the property line. And so right now I'm not afforded the same luxuries as my neighbors are. And so that's what I'd like to present. And I know it has to go through the your commission, and then it has to go to the planning commission, and it's a process. So just like to ask that.
Well, thank you for bringing it to us. We'll take this, we'll get this to the staff, and maybe you can work with the staff directly, and then they can get back to us on any recommendations. That would be helpful.
Sorry, can I just ask a question before you sit down? How much space would you have if you built this RV pad or storage? How much space would you have between that and the fence if you were allowed to build it today?
So right now, currently, the way I've been planning for with the setback, I could put a maximum of 16 foot wide to give the 10 foot to my neighbor's fence to the north of me. The 10-foot to the west is not that big of an issue for me, because I have 105 feet length. I would like to put at least an 18-foot wide RV, like a garage, basically. And so that, if I did that, I have 26 feet to play with. So if I did a 16-foot, that would give me the 10-foot.
Right, okay.
But try backing a 39-foot fifth wheel into a 16-foot area with no spotter. I'm by myself now. That's one of the reasons I moved to West Haven. So that's why if I could have 18 feet at least.
Then that
or
would leave you
20,
8 is what you're saying?
leave 8 or 6 feet, still plenty of room for the snow to fall off and not follow my neighbor. And I have talked to my neighbor about it, and they don't care.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you so much for answering.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for the
Thank you.
clarification too.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Okay, anyone else?
My name's Andy Davis. I live at 2210 South, 2200 West. First, thank you for everyone's work on behalf of the city. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you. I'm just asking to see if there's some type of update or plans. I've asked before about sidewalks to get to the new junior high school. We live in the Seclusion Meadows neighborhood on 2200 South. I haven't heard any updates or any information about it. Still a concern is mine as my children will go to that school.
Okay,
Just asking for an update or if there's any plans about that.
do we have any updates that anyone could share?
I'm not exactly sure. We'd have to add, I mean, I don't know whether or not Ed might know since he's sitting in the,
I don't think we have any updates on that particular area right now, but we have your name down on here and we can notify you if something comes up in that, but we'll check into that. Would that work for you? Okay, thank you for being here.
Amy, can I just ask you a question really quick? We were planning to do a sidewalk study, right? Did that
well,
ever get done?
we have done the sidewalk inventory. That was finished, what, a couple months back is when Ed presented that. And so it's, that's something that could be brought up in the, in budget regarding, you know, this section as to what the priority is amongst all of them. That would, since you have done have this, okay, let me restart. Since you have finished the sidewalk inventory, you'd now be able to look at what that priority is as to where that is.
So that was just an inventory, not an actual study of priorities that would be on the council to prioritize?
No, they
Well,
were
no,
listed. They were listed of what they thought that would be the priorities, and we were shown that. So
Yeah.
we have it.
Okay, thank you.
The intent was twofold for the inventory. One was to identify where we do have sidewalks and where we have gaps. And the second then was we looked at all those areas and tried to put cost to them as to what it would cost to put sidewalk in, but also what I think I described as complexity, whether there's a need to pipe some irrigation channels or storm ditches.
Right.
Is it going to require major utility relocations, things of that nature? And we had that whole list broken down into, I think, four priority categories. And again, that was something I would expect that we'd be talking about during the budget.
Great, thank
Ed,
you
do
so
you
much.
remember what that area looked like as far as
I'm
priority?
sorry, I don't remember specifically. I know our number one priority in terms of assessments were anything that was within a school walking zone.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So they are our first priorities, are anything that's going to be to a school, such as the school on 5100 or the junior high. So we'll be taking a hard look at that in budget season. So hopefully by the time they go to school, we'll have more news.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for your recommendations on that, and we'll look into those for you. On item number 4, upcoming events. Our senior lunch bunch will be February 28th. That will be at 11:30 a.m. That'll be another great time. We had a huge crowd last time, and so if you guys invite your grandma and grandpas, they're welcome to come to that. It's a lot of fun. On item 5 on here was, is there any council updates that we need to share with the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6. Action on our consent agenda. Item A is for city council minutes, meeting held on January 17th, 2024. Item B is for Weber County Sheriff at $435,575. And that's all we have for our consent agenda. Is there any questions or concerns on the consent agenda?
I have one on the minutes for number 9, and I meant to ask, it doesn't show that Councilmember Swap voted. Did you vote on that?
I can double check that and fix it in the minutes.
Perfect.
I'm assuming you did.
I would think so.
So that's all I had. So I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll do a roll call on that. Councilmember Call?
Aye.
Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab?
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders?
Aye.
And Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
I lost you for a second. Motion carries on that. Thank you, council, for that. Item 7 on here is a presentation we have for our Rocky Mountain Junior High. We appreciate and wanted to recognize the junior high school for the accomplishments that they've had. We understand that your coach couldn't be here tonight and got called out by the district, I think, for another meeting, but we wanted to also see, it looks like you got some representatives on here. Looks like our first one on here would be for, we had set up for the volleyball, and I think that was for Carrie Morrell. Is she here? There you are. And we got another Lamb representative over here too. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, we need all the ladies up here.
Oh, and they're even wearing their champs t-shirts. I love this. Yeah.
So Carrie, can you tell us, is this volleyball and softball? Okay, no, that's fine. Let's do volleyball first. Perfect. And if you will introduce them and maybe tell us a little bit about your volleyball season, how you did, what was your highs and lows? No lows, I guess. You didn't, well, you cleaned up, so. Oh, wow.
So huge week, there's some great presents. We're excited for the ninth graders to come on and play. We're sad to have, the split of 8th and 7th to go to different school, but excited for the ones to stay. So keep playing, that's what we want you to do. But we have had just the best time with these girls. They're just great girls. Championship, we went 3-0 too, so just a really great season, just so much sportsmanship, just kind-hearted girls. So, do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Or do you want me to do that? Me? Okay. This is Zoe Sherman. This is Molly Dalhas. Cameron Davis, our ninth grader. Deli. I don't know your last name. Right. That's Brooke. She's a coach. She's like that. Lily. See, you should have done stuff. Quincy. You never say your last name anyway. Yeah. Well, I should do this. My word. Marley. Last name want Tessa Morrell, that's my kiddo. And then Aaliyah Crossley. So.
Let's get you guys a certificate. Council, do you want to come down?
Let's squeeze some of you in on this side so I can get a good shot of all of you.
Going this way and that way. Have Emily take the picture.
It's gonna be
So you did that with just 6 of you? Please do. Excellent. Well, we appreciate that. Why don't you guys come in and we'll give you this certificate and get some more pictures here. Come over here.
We want to thank you guys for your outstanding season, but also your sportsmanship and how well you guys are at being a team together. And so you do not have to stay for the rest of this meeting, and so you are free to go.
But you can stay if you want
If
to.
you really want to stay, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for being here for this. We appreciate it.
We'll just have you step outside and then shut that door so that we can continue with our meeting now. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, action on our Planning Commission meeting recommendations. Item A is for action on ordinance 04-2024 for public and private road standards. We'll turn that over to our city manager. And by the way, thank you, our city manager, for being here. This is his first round sitting up at the dais, so
thank you. It's a pleasure
glad
to
to have
be
him here.
I appreciate it. So I believe that Ed is prepared to talk on the issue, but while he's coming up, I would just say that this change is born out of a state code change that we need to comply with. So with that, I can give you more of the specifics on what that means and the process that we've gone through.
I think you explained it all. The council's been aware that the state has changed the process and procedure how municipalities process subdivision applications. And one of the code or design changes that they implemented was limiting the municipality's ability in terms of how wide in asphalt we can make what they call, change the name, residential roadways. Our standard roadway or neighborhood roadway right-of-way is 56 feet with 33 foot of asphalt. The state now limits us to the 32 feet of asphalt. So this is just a very minor change to our existing road standards to reduce the existing the required asphalt from 33 feet to 32. And for now, what we have done was we took that extra foot, and for now, it's been added to the park strips to maintain the same right-of-way. So right now, it would be, instead of 4.5 foot park strip, it would be 5. But this is just, like city manager said, this is to address a code change that now is officially in effect on the state level. So we're just trying to do this to match state requirement. We're going to, I know city manager and I talked about it, we'll probably be we haven't taken a look through all our existing engineering standards and public works standards. And in particular, we're going to revisit all the right-of-ways and paved widths, traveled widths, parking, no parking. And we'll be prepared at a later date to come back to the council with our findings and some recommendations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Is there any, by chance, if I may ask, is there any House bills currently that are touching on any of this at all?
I'm sorry?
Any legislative House bills?
Currently, we had the city engineers conference a couple of weeks ago, and what was brought to our attention was, I think as municipalities are starting to implement this new process, they're finding some process glitches that they're going to try to address, but I don't believe there's any significant process or design recommendations that are coming out of the current session.
I haven't seen any come through ULCT, so, and this is one that probably would come through ULCT.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue they were discussing was whether or at one point should development plans be submitted. Right now, the way it was written, typically prior process would have been, somebody would come in and get a preliminary approval for a subdivision plat. Once they got preliminary approval, then they would submit their development plans, and we would review back and forth until we thought it was okay to go to final approval. What the new regulations do is that it says that you submit your development plans concurrently with the plat, which personally I think is a good idea because they do necessarily affect one another. The difference now is that the municipalities and as well as the applicants are held to specific timeframes in terms of how long we can take to turn around a review. And that's something, you know, it's going to be like one of those chicken and egg things where you're going to hear the city engineers say, if the developers, engineers replied quicker, we'd be able to turn around quicker. Or if they addressed all our comments the first time, we wouldn't have to do this. But I guess the compromise that the legislature adopted was a 4-round limit of reviews, and also they've required the time between accepting applications as complete and having the commission take action is 20 days. So it's more of a procedural changes that have put into effect rather than the design. This is the only issue. Developers that seemed to be their largest concern was asphalt width, but I did have in the staff report. The city does have some leeway in terms of this, and particularly with us, I think parking is a big consideration, and we have to make sure that if we maintain this standard, that we have to identify whether we have sufficient clearance for two-way traffic, fire access, and then having safe parking on both sides, which is not going to affect the travelway. So,
okay. Excellent, thank you. Does the council have any questions on this overall? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve action on ordinance 04-2024 public-private road standards.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this project? Okay, let's do a roll call on this one too. Let's do Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Call.
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab.
Aye.
Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Ed, for your input on that. Appreciate that. Move on to item number 9 is, this is for a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public input on an ordinance regarding storm water quality management. I'll turn that over also to Sean for any insight on that for staff.
Actually, I'm glad Ed's still standing there because he's the
I
best
thought he
person
just
to
liked
explain.
being there.
You had a
but-
chance to run and you didn't.
Yeah.
that's okay. The city has had to have a stormwater quality management ordinance since the federal government implemented stormwater regulations starting in the 1990s and as they evolved over time. And it's overlapping the discussion we had a couple weeks ago regarding stormwater impact fees, stormwater permitting, stormwater utility fees, and all that stuff. But this ordinance was specifically crafted to comply with federal and state requirements for monitoring stormwater quantity and quality during construction. Certain size projects require state level permits, and most municipalities have adopted local level permits also to get some of those in-between projects, which may not be big enough for a state permit, but still probably are best, at least the city is aware of them and can at least keep track of what's going on and be aware of potential issues regarding biggest issue I think we find with construction, obviously, and I'm sure everybody's experienced it, mud tracking in the street from construction equipment and debris left on the street or sediment that then gets into our catch basins. Those are usually the biggest issues we have. In reviewing the ordinance, a lot of issues with regard to the enforcement of the ordinance have been brought to my attention by Colt and by Dan, because they're the ones who are our registered stormwater inspectors, and they're the ones who need to go out, because the city is mandated to conduct regular inspections of all these sites. what we were finding was that the strongest tool we had under the current, previous ordinance was the city can say to the developer, we're going to stop our inspections. But there was no way to actually compel them to comply. So one of the major aspects of this was basically trying to create a clear enforcement process, enforcement levels of process, and give the inspectors tools to be effective in getting compliance when there's non-compliance. So essentially what happens if there's going to be if there is a visible violation, mud in the street, dirt in the catch basins, again, those are two most common issues we find. This ordinance will allow us to stop the site work until that is resolved. It's closely on par with what the federal permit requires now. The federal permit has instituted mandatory compliance times based on different kind of violations. We went a little less complicated, so I think we stop them, and based on the type of violation or the level of violation, the ordinance also does provide for the city to assess penalties if they want to be applied. And again, the penalties or the fees are not meant to be revenue collectors. They're hoping to be deterrents for people from doing this in the first place, or at least be significant enough that if they do it, hopefully it'll incentivize them not to do it again. So that was one of the major changes in the new ordinance. I glanced over the first part. We tweaked some language based on federal changes. It's basically more boilerplate kind of language, but we had to incorporate it into our ordinance, so the ordinance covers that. And the last item that we modified is about our local permitting. The current ordinance requires to get a local city stormwater permit if there's any disturbance greater than 500 square feet. But that's as far as it went. We had no permit process, no submission requirements, no how you demonstrate compliance. So that's been codified now under the ordinance. And the second part of that was there was at least what I believed, and I think Colton and Dan believed, we have a situation of certain construction which falls through the cracks in terms of getting permitted. And that is when you have significant import or export of soil. And I know I had gotten a lot of calls with the Westwood development and the amount of soil they were bringing in. And we had no means to regulate that. So under the stormwater regulations, if you're going to import or export a certain volume of soil, you need to get a permit. And with the permit, depending on, again, how often or how much soil you're bringing in, the requirements will be different. Most people are just going to have a notification. They're going to have to give us whatever their stormwater control measures are. And the other thing I put in there is that we also need to approve traffic plans. So we know that we're not running 400 trucks down 2200 South. We want to make sure that these trucks maintain on close to the main roads as possible. I don't know, Amy, did we take the impact fee out of this again? I don't remember if we did.
Yeah, the impact fee is taken out of it because it's just referred to with the ordinance, the impact fee ordinance, so then you don't have to change this every time you change your impact fee.
And I think it also makes it clearer. I think based on the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago, it does lead to some confusion where there is one little section in the stormwater management ordinance talking about the impact fee, where none of the rest of the ordinance really applies to the impact fee. So we have a separate ordinance that regulates stormwater utility fees. We have this one now to regulate stormwater during construction, and then, like Amy said, the impact fee will be separate. So each ordinance will be independent and hopefully lead to less confusion and better understanding of what the purpose of each one is and how it regulates.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Questions from the council?
I just have one question, Ed. Yep. On the moving of the soil.
Yes.
That 20 cubic yards, How, I have no idea what that is, but, can you just kind of give us a rough sense? What I'm wondering is if a guy doing some landscaping in his yard or.
No,
or-
and
or-
that's specifically exempted. It's more, if it's something not as minor as, say, a 10 by 10 addition, but if you're gonna do a reasonable size addition to a house, they would at least have to get a permit because they're gonna be pulling out enough soil where it can potentially be an issue in terms of impact on the right of way.
What about something like a pole barn or something like that, or they're just kind of
Well,
straight?
if they're just gonna be doing a shallow foundation or pad, it wouldn't
Wouldn't affect
impact
that,
it,
right?
no.
And stormwater is pretty much affected by an acre and up.
That was, well, that's where we get into some of the confusion. That's for impact fees. And that is, impact fees are designed to address maintaining current level of sewer service based on increasing development. And it's premised on extra stormwater that will be generated by an acre development. So if you have a vacant lot right now that's an acre, and now I put either a mini subdivision or a small commercial, more impervious surface means you're gonna get more runoff into the street, into our collection system, and that's what the impact fee's for. This only speaks to construction activities that disturb soil, and I think that's where we got into a little bit of a discussion point last time, is that impact fees is regarding generation of water, but the stormwater permit is to prevent runoff from carrying debris, mostly dirt, silts, into the right of way.
Okay, that helps.
And again, I should acknowledge, Scott, Cole and Dan were the one who actually started bringing this to my attention, and they started putting together the draft, and then I got into more of some of the policy things that are in here, but I appreciate the work they did on this and the observation they brought, because I think this will be a benefit to the city once we have it implemented.
Absolutely. It's hard to tell Scott and Cole apart. I mean, they look like twins. Do you guys concur with everything that it brought up? Okay, good.
Great work, guys.
Yeah, appreciate that. And thank you, Dan, for wearing that jacket in here because it's kept my attention right over.
I almost didn't see you.
It was tough.
Blends right in.
Is there any questions on this? I have some corrections on it, just
Sure.
but a few things, but is there anything
Maybe we
else?
should have public hearing first.
Yeah, we can. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's do a motion. I'm
Move to
ready for
enter
a motion.
public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll start our public hearing. Do we have anyone that would like to come up on our public hearing? Okay, seeing none, we will move out of our public hearing into our regular meeting. Need a
So-
motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it was almost like we didn't need it, but we needed it, right? It's all good, thanks.
Formalities.
All right, so we're back on this. So my only changes that I had on here was just some minor things, I think, just across the board. But I think it was just on, if we go by line item, I think it was 351 on there. Are you making the changes on it, or do you
No,
want me
Amy
to?
will probably be the one who, or Sean could record them.
Thanks for the
Amy
volunteer.
pointed out enough
Volunteer.
errors I made already. Now we're gonna find some more, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
oh, yeah.
Are
You
you
mean
It happens when you have a 30-page ordinance, so.
I only have like 50 or 60.
Are you looking
It's
at
not a big deal.
the blue correct
Yeah,
one or
I'm
this
on the
one?
blue
Marked
one.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue
the
marked one?
Yes, and it's under line item 351.
Hold on. I gotta go to the other. Just a second.
If you read through that, you might see it right off. So I think you just need to eliminate one of the lesses on there.
So, hold on,
351, construction projects less that disturb less than 1 acre. I think if you just got rid of that, it would make more sense.
That first less.
Yes,
just a second. I'm
Less is
trying to-
better.
less is better.
Well, and then if we are going to
Less
be
is better.
That was a good one.
completely, we need to spell out one. Oh,
This is in the definition section, right?
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Under
Stormwater management.
stormwater
plan.
management. So you need to know that it may have been fixed already so hold on just a second.
think that's
So what was the word again?
the
Less?
first less, not the second one.
So less, it should be less than instead of
Less
that?
projects that disturb less than 1 acre.
Delete the first
There's
word.
two, where are you looking? So it should be
jeez.
just projects
Jeez.
that disturb less.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Okay. On 484, line item on there. It didn't make a lot of sense to me anyway, to the way individual residential car washing, provided there is no discharge of soaps, solvents, or used for such purposes. It should probably just say other chemicals or substances used for that for such purposes.
Oh,
And 484.
Solvents or,
just take or out.
Yeah, solvents. It could be or other chemicals or substances for such purposes.
so other such substances?
Or other substances used for such purposes.
Chemicals or substances.
Okay, so other chemicals, other substances?
He's saying you can use either word.
All right, so how about I put or other substances used for such purposes? So add the words other substances.
That works fine. It
Yep.
just didn't make sense the way it was written. I think it's not a big deal on some of this, but it was last updated, it says in March, and this was just for line item 578, where the city stormwater management plan was.
Which line item?
578.
Under 155017 best management practices.
78. So tell me what,
So on this, it makes reference, because I wanted to know where the stormwater management plan was. Just looking on there, it referenced March on there. Not in that sentence on there, but it's actually found in the April commission on there where it talks about where we approved it. So it was just a change
I
of
think the
date.
cover date is still March, but we can change that
Yeah,
online.
it was just during in April because I looked in March and I didn't see it in there. Let's see.
There was just one other spelling error on 578. Amy, there are, you've got THER detailed. I'm not sure what that should, there are detailed.
Crossed out the.
Because up here, structural and or non-structural BMPs that may be applied depending on the needs of this site. And then are detailed in the cities. So everything between that is crossed out. So it makes sense, it's fine.
Does it need to be a capital or no?
No,
No.
because
no.
continuation of the
See,
sentence.
that's the kind of issue of looking at the blue one versus looking at
Okay.
the.
I trust you.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of change, but a lot of this had more to do also with the way the ordinance was organized and making sure that if somebody is trying to read it with the intention of complying with it, that things flowed in a logical sense, and you don't get 3/4 through and realize something was different than what you had maybe thought it was in the beginning. So a lot of the changes are really just formatting.
So the next one on there was 937, line item 937. It's under B for plan concepts, or contents, excuse me. It just says the
37 plan concept.
SWPPP shall contain, but not necessarily, it should just have a B in there, BE, be limited. And then it skips all the way down to 2. So that's all just part of the sentencing to make sense in that.
Okay, which
937.
37 plan contents?
Plan of contents. So where it comes to not necessarily, and then it goes limited, it should probably be limited to.
Actually, it doesn't say that in the, I've changed it already.
Okay,
It says, the SWIP shall contain but is not limited to,
okay.
Is that
That'll work.
okay?
Yep, that'll be great. Thank you.
because I didn't think it made sense, so I fixed it, sorry.
On 968, line item 968 on the next page over there. I think on the permittee is responsible to maintain or cause, not caused to be maintained. It should just be cause. So take the D off there, I think.
No. So what would you like it to be?
Cause.
Caused and not caused.
Permittee is responsible to maintain or cause to be maintained.
These are
Okay.
major changes you guys missed apparently on here.
I did, I apologize.
I'm talking to these guys. I'm just kidding.
Well, there was 3 of them, and there's only me, so.
I can't tell you how many times we reread this. It was, forget it.
On 982, I'm sure it was Dan. On 982, it just has 2 periods on there. We can wipe that off and get rid of that. Minor.
Can we stop at 1010 really quick?
Actually, well, with that 982, I did fix that. There is no 2.
On 1010, there's an extra space between of and violation.
1010,
Did I miss one?
hold on.
Look at you.
Right before.
That's why we have a good council. And I think
I may
I
have
ran
fixed
out of
that
time.
one also. Yeah, I did. I fixed that one already.
I think that's all I had.
I need to excuse myself, but I will catch y'all on Zoom.
You are excused. Thank you for being here the time that you were.
And good luck.
Have a good night.
Yes, good luck to the team. Okay, any other concerns or issues with this? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Oh, gosh, okay. I move to approve ordinance 05-2024, the ordinance regarding stormwater quality management.
Second.
Wait,
With changes
Oh.
made to.
Oh, with the changes discussed. Thank you, council members.
One second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, let's do a roll call on that. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
and Councilmember Saunders. Okay, motion carries. Thank you
Mayor.
for your work
Aye,
on
by the
this.
way, I
Council.
didn't have my microphone.
She's still connecting.
Is she connected?
She's not back yet.
Well, we'll continue. We'll move on with that. All right, let's see. Item 11, discussion and possible action on the fall rodeo. I think we talked about this a couple of times.
Just a few.
Okay. I'm ready for any comments.
did you want, Sean, did you want me to address it since I wrote well, I didn't write all of it. Sherry wrote some of it.
Absolutely.
Basically, you guys just need to make a decision as to whether or not you want to have the fall rodeo. I think the Sherry's numbers that she provided to you in October. You've also seen the numbers from last year. Not last year, 2023, but last year, 2022. The city is subsidizing the rodeo, which is fine if that's what, this is a policy decision. And that's a decision you just need to decide one way or the other. But I felt it was necessary to bring this to you guys this early in the year so that we're not stuck with a contractual thing if you decide not to move forward with the fall rodeo.
Are we sure it's not under contract?
My understanding is it is not at
It is
this
not.
time.
Okay. But we're still under contract for West Haven Days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess it's, the council just needs to decide what you want to do with this.
Do we know, in 2023, if that amount that we subsidize is more or less than previous years? Because it seems like it's more.
I believe it was more because what happened this past year is that the sponsors, we got more money out of the sponsors for the West Haven Days, but that meant that they did not
Sponsor the
contribute to
rodeo.
the fall rodeo, which they had contributed more to the fall rodeo than the year before that. But Sherry was able to get more money for West Haven Days, so it's kind of this trade-off and you know,
Which makes the fall rodeo look worse, right?
yeah. It may not be worse, it's just we got more money for the bigger festival.
Yeah, I think it was requested that we give it a good heave-ho to see what we could do to get it to promote. It didn't promote as well as we thought, and it was just basic, concerns with clashing with other events in the cities and the surrounding areas. So it was just a really tough event for us to try and support and keep it. I didn't see the value in maybe continuing to move forward with it, even though I love the rodeo side of it, and we hate to see things like this go away, but there may be a time that we could replace it with something else and do something a little different at the arena at a different time. So, but it's up to the council. If you guys want to discuss any more or have any questions.
Excuse me, I was one of the ones that wanted to give it a good try with social media and everything, and obviously it's not working out as well as we had hoped. So I would love to replace it with something, whatever that would be. I have no idea, but I think I would be fine with canceling it.
Okay. Any other comments?
So we're just removing our sponsorship of this. If they still wanted to rent the arena and host it themselves, that's still an option to them. We're just removing our sponsorship.
If it's available, sure.
Yeah, I don't really care to subsidize that rodeo at that amount of money. I mean, if it was a much smaller amount, then I could see us doing it again, and then maybe trying to get more sponsors to help cover that minimal amount, but that's not a minimal amount, so I don't like the idea of subsidizing it.
Not for a 2-day event at that cost. I think I'm in favor of withdrawing our sponsorship.
And then also, how many of the people attending that live outside of West Haven? I mean, if it was for our residents and we had a really large portion of residents attending, then I could see considering it. But I think a lot of those folks come from outside the city. And so we're subsidizing something for someone else's residents.
Okay. Well, I think we can move forward with this. If you guys want to make a motion towards the direction on this.
How do we make that motion, Mayor?
Yeah, it's an action item, so we can make a motion
I make a motion to not have the fall rodeo in 2024. Is that right?
Remove
Second.
Sponsorship,
It's
yeah.
right there.
All right, sorry. I move that the council votes to discontinue having the fall rodeo.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the rodeo?
My only, I guess, for me, I'm wondering about, the bleachers. We're about to put a pretty big investment into those, and then maybe we're canceling the rodeo where we would use the bleachers. So I'm having a hard time.
I don't think the current bleachers fill up for this rodeo, but they do for West Haven Days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's where I'm having a little bit of a hard time if there's just, I mean, I guess we can have that discussion on the next on the next item, but I think for me, the two kind of run together and affect each other, so.
Well, just again, to reiterate, I think the report that we received and staff report gives, the facts of the situation, where you got 150 to possibly 250, we'll say, people attending. That's, we didn't bring in enough to even have people sit.
The people have kind of voted, by their attendance, right? So.
And I think if, it doesn't mean that we're not going to do something, but the idea behind it is like, do we find something else to replace it? Like, we could do a barrel racing jackpot, or we could do something that the city could help sponsor an event, or we could do, a roping jackpot. We could do it in a different time of the year that would be beneficial, that would bring value to what our arena is bringing. But right now, even though, as much as we appreciate Ben and his group and his, everything he brings to the table for West Haven Days, it hasn't been beneficial to the city overall over the years that we've had this. And I think we've just sponsored it for a long time.
One time we talked about maybe possibly moving it to a different, because I know one of the concerns was competing with, in the fall with football games at the high school and stuff like that. What I'm wondering is if we've actually explored that idea all the way of possibly moving that date with the contractor, and because it seems like if we could get this event to work and to be financially feasible for the city, that we ought to try every avenue we can, because it's an event that kind of, we've talked about how it fits the character of the city and those things. And so my concern is I guess, and maybe we could have that discussion afterwards, even if we don't vote to move forward with this. Maybe that's something for the future to bring up, is seeing if there's another opportunity to still, make this work at a different time of year that would put people in the seats and be beneficial to both.
Well, in the staff report, it does talk, and I'm fully aware this, that was the end of the year. This was set, so other cities are covering different areas of the event. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are. So ours was the last one. So to just move dates, we talked about that. That wasn't really an option for us to move with this.
Particular event.
I think it wasn't an option for them to move it, not necessarily us, but it wasn't an option for them to move it.
I see.
This is when they needed to have it.
I think it's the last qualifier, and they had to get it in
exactly.
before.
It's the last qualifier.
So that's why.
Okay.
So I think we can replace it with something else, and even possibly use, if we need to get stock, we can still utilize stock from. But anyway, that's where we're at. Well, we have a motion and a second on the table. So I guess all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, we got one opposed, so we'll move forward with that. Thank you again for that. I think it's a pretty good decision to try and see what we can do to push something else into that ring. All right, let's move on to item 12, which is discussion and possible action on bleachers at the Kenneth Baldwin Country Park. So I guess with this one on here, we've had lots of discussion about this, I guess, on where we stand, or where we're trying to stand with this. I think that we have staff that did a little more research on this, it looks like. Do you want to bring up where we stand with this currently?
Yeah, Amy, if you could take this issue again. Thank you.
I don't want to take this issue. I don't want that.
Your name is on the report.
the hot potato.
Somebody's got to take it.
Yeah. We acquired some more information from a different contractor who has installed some extensive bleachers in Utah He will be installing some for Ogden Pioneer Days, and he had some different views regarding what to do with the bleachers and anchoring them, that sort of thing. Our current bleachers are on road base. They are unanchored. However, our current bleachers are not as light as these ones are. They're made out of a different material. And so you really have a couple of different possibilities here. You could move forward with Belson's bleachers and make a decision as to how you want to anchor. And hopefully we could maybe get them here and get them installed before West Haven Days, but frankly, because of all of the discussion, there's a good possibility that that will not happen. It may not, don't know. Because you're talking about a 10 to 12 week delivery time, which depending on what kind of lineup they have, it may or may not be just 10 to 12 weeks. The other option was to look at having the city manager send the project out for bid and see if we can get local contractors to supply bleachers and look at how they'd be anchored, how they would be put together, assembled. There's that possibility. We have a year, based on what Sherry said, we have a year to be able to spend this money. So we do still have time to be able to do that. But again, if you do that, they will not be here for this West Haven Days. Or you table it and request additional information.
Our favorite thing.
So really, this is a policy thing, as to what you guys want to do with this. I think that, Belson provided three different types of engineered plans. You have the duckbill anchor install, you have the 10-row auger anchor install, and then you have the concrete pad. Like I said, you guys just need to make a decision as to what you want to do. I'm just saying that it may be too late for this year, but who knows? They just barely emailed Emily, was it last week, Emily? That said, we're checking in on the signed submittals for your bleacher order. Warehouse will have to push back the ship date again due to not having the submittals in. Please give us a call if there's an issue or if you have questions. Please see note below. And so that was January 29th. Let's see, the project is on hold until we receive the signed submittals. We had another record year in 2023 and have a backlog of projects that are awaiting the signed submittals so that productions, documents are completed, stamps, drawings are completed, and the installation is scheduled. It's important that we complete the submittal process so we can deliver to site and complete the installation on time. Finalizing these details as soon as possible allows us to book, well, they talk about the installer and they wouldn't be installing, but there's still their commentary from, this email that got sent out was saying that, because when I was talking about the possibility of what with the warehouse, it's because they mentioned a backlog of projects. So that's why I'm saying I don't know if 10 to 12 weeks is still feasible or not because of that email that was sent on January 29th. And it may just be one of those things where they send it out because they're hoping to get the sale done. And so, but.
Is the bid changed, anything changed on the bid, or is it still locked from clear back in March of last year?
Not as I know of yet, but I don't know if they'll change that because we've given them a PO though so far. And so I think that would lock it in, but if we wait too much longer, they could potentially just pull back on it.
But they are the same price as last year.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly because the shipping was added.
Yeah.
Right, but
And
I'm
that
just talking
wasn't,
about
and
the
that wasn't on the
bleachers.
invoice.
I'm just talking about the bleachers only. They didn't have an increase in pricing on the bleachers.
Not so
Okay.
far.
All right.
What was the total again on it? Do we know?
It was like 156,000, and there was a little bit more to it.
How much?
156,000.
Yeah, the
Grant was for how much?
140.
140?
Was it 140 or 143?
It's close to there, somewhere in there. Well, I guess for recommendation purposes, I would push to get them ordered. I would definitely put them on runners. I'd put them on 2x6 or 2x8 runners, and put them on the road base. But I would also want to get a bid to get the ADA pads poured in 4 inches on those, and then put the anchors in for any wind resistance. There's all kinds of installers that, you know, we could potentially probably get, but I think I'd like to see West Haven do that. I don't know if they would be willing to, but I'd like to see that happen. And that way we could have some control over the situation. If we're going to get them in and we can get them shipped to us, you're looking at, what, early May possibly to get them in, and then trying to get them all put together and installed.
Which that's where the problem lies because of spring cleanup and all of the work that they're going to have to do to get things ready, especially for West Haven days. So it's not necessarily a willing thing, it's whether or not that they're going to be able to.
Well, that's what I would recommend.
My recommendation is we get with Ryan Christensen. We create a solicitation to go out, and we list bid alternates, so options that the contractors are bidding on. We have base bid assemble the bleachers on site. They will be received and stored obviously by our staff somewhere, but to assemble them, and then have an alternate to put them on runners with the anchors, have a alternate for concrete, and then once we see all the options, then we can come back and decide how to move forward. But that starts the process now and gets it rolling. And I think we order the bleachers and get them here as soon as we can.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I'd be fine with that too. I think the concrete pours and some of those things, you know, you just need to plan, but they'll have to be set up before those are poured. So, and those will help anchor down the ADA side of it too, where we got 2 ADAs in there.
Do we have somewhere where we can store it?
Outside.
I'm guessing a couple of flatbeds are going to show up and there's going to be pieces strapped down. So we'll just have to throw it out there in the grass somewhere.
I'm not exactly sure. Emily, do we have to agree to a certain anchoring system to be able to order them?
Yeah, we have to decide whether or not we want the concrete pad or the duck anchors. We have to sign off on one of the engineered plans before they'll do it.
So, I
So
mean,
we
you
better get
can
that.
have Ryan do those specs, but we just can't order them until you guys make a decision on what you want to do because of the company is requiring that sign off on whichever engineered plans for the anchoring system.
Would we be able to do the non-cement one and then just go out with the bids for what we did choose? Does that make sense?
So you're saying agree to the engineered plans for the cement ones?
Not the
Sorry, not the
cement
cement
ones.
ones, the other ones.
Earth anchors with the mud seals.
Right.
Yeah, if we accept that right now, I mean, I think that's acceptable. Tell them that's what we're going to go for, and if we come back with
Right.
bids and concrete is as cheap as we thought it was, maybe we consider it. If not, we just stay with the mud seals and the earth anchors. I think that's acceptable.
I think they'll be fine with the anchors.
Yep.
And it'll save the city a ton of money rather than pouring cement all across there, but,
Yeah.
and then for sure we wouldn't have them for West Haven days anyway, but
Did we check into the soil? Do we have an engineer look at that? That was something that came up last time with the anchors.
We have not had that checked out.
But I don't think that was a requirement with their
Not-
drawings
Yeah.
coming back. They just said earth stakes and you're fine.
Didn't
That's my
matter.
concern, but yeah, but they came back with drawings and saying, no, if you do this, we're good with our liability.
Okay, it didn't matter the soil type.
Yeah, they didn't seem to care.
yeah, the only problem with that they sent to us over there, Emily, was that they sent those anchor dimensions over for a non-elevated bleacher. So we probably just need to check with them to make sure that they know that those are elevated, that we're getting 30-inch elevated bleachers with anchors. So they'd probably just have to send us those plans if there's any change, but it's the wrong one. It's for down on the ground, non-elevated. Okay.
Is this an action?
Yes, please.
It better be.
Hey, let's make something happen here.
Go for it.
Swap's ready to do that.
Let's do it. Okay, I move that we tell the bleacher manufacturer that we are ordering them, so we'll continue with the PO, and that we're going to tell them that we're doing the mud seal earth anchor system, and that we're also going to go and put this out to bid with bid alternates for anchoring systems, and then we can decide later on the two different prices between the earth anchors and mud seals or the concrete pads or a combination thereof.
Second.
And did you say, I didn't hear if you said to have the bid for the installation.
Yes, we would need a bid for the installation as well as the base bid.
As
The
well
alternates
as-
would be the anchoring or
All right.
concrete. Correct.
Still second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the bleachers? Okay, let's just do a roll call on that to make sure. Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
I think he
There
was
we go.
asking me.
Councilmember Dixon.
But I was an aye too.
Dixon, did you?
I answered for
She voted for
Councilmember
me.
Morse. It's been a long night. Aye for Councilmember Dixon
Okay,
as
motion
well.
carries. Let's get these aluminum cans ordered and get them in here.
Sorry.
Will you do us a favor and just let us know in an email if, you know, what's going on with those to see? Because I know there's other options out there, but just to let us know if they're ready to go or how long they're going to be on the ordering process of that. So, and then we can work on with Gardner Engineering on some stuff as well.
That would be great.
That work? Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to item 13, action on resolution 04-2024 for rejecting the findings and conclusions of the Utah Legislative Auditor General's report, number 2023-16, a performance audit of the Utah housing policy. So, on this one, this has been a discussion that has been going around with some of the mayors in the state. And I appreciate the discussions that we've had and walked around a little bit trying to understand this a little bit better. We provided a copy of the resolution. We've got a lot of interest, I guess, in the concerns over some of the audit findings that were found in this recommendation that didn't really show that there was huge value to that overall. And as a city, I wanted to make sure that, you know, we had a chance to push back a little bit on this because I think they need to show where we personally had, I'll call it just a rounded number of, you know, close to 700 to 900 permits sitting out there. The state and the Utah League of Cities and Towns indicated in their report, even when Governor Cox came out and talked to us, they reported back, you know, that they had 190 in the state, 190,000 permits that were still sitting out there that the developers had not started or worked on. But we have this housing shortage that they keep pushing back to the cities on. So, and also Governor Cox made a lot of comments while he was here in his statements about, you know, housing in general and what needed to be done there. But there's a lot of issues and concerns with that overall that we keep getting legislation for the cities or municipalities to work on this and to do better and to create all these other legislation that's supposed to help, you know, the situation. So I thought I would just present this and get this out to the council to see, you know, what your thoughts were and see if it was something the city was interested in moving forward with.
I'm interested in, I looked at the report and I was trying to back into where they got their population numbers of the increase in population and how they had put their numbers there. I could not find I'm not sure their numbers are correct as I looked at their references. So I have a problem with, them giving numbers that I'm not sure where they're coming from or if they're even correct. So I'm totally on board with this.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think that in the past 10 years, we've seen West Haven grown tremendously. I mean, that's why many of us have been elected, was because of the extreme and fast growth that we've seen in the city. And when we go back and look at these numbers, the numbers that are stated in this resolution, it's very clear that there are still a lot of building permits out there. And so for the state to come down on West Haven in any sort of way is a little crazy to me. So I agree with this.
I am also in agreement on this, and I would like to hear from our new city manager on his thoughts on such a resolution. This is kind of a new type of resolution to me. What are your thoughts of writing such a resolution?
Well, this was a resolution that the mayor brought to my attention, and I had the chance to review it, and I felt like it was appropriate. And if you look at the last whereas, or now therefore, or further be it resolved, I should say, it talks about engaging in a conversation with our representatives. And I think that's really what we want to do is, tell them that we respectfully disagree with some of the findings, but really start the conversation about, what does this mean and how can we work together more appropriately. A lot of legislation that we're seeing, and I know you're aware of, is looking at trying to solve the housing issue by the state legislature, preemptively making local land use decisions for cities to try to help, expedite the creation of affordable housing. But as Council Member Morris mentioned, that we are doing our part. So really, I think that's the end goal is just to continue the conversation in a meaningful and respectful way with those that are at the state legislature representing our city.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Guess it's down to me. Everyone's looking at me.
You don't have to say anything.
I think I'm fine with this. I think I agree with the city manager that anytime you're opposing something, it's good to kind of state the reasons and get in a conversation where we can maybe make some suggestions. And one of the concerns I have is with this type of report is if the efforts that are being handed down from the state actually do work, I'd like to see a report as to how it is working. Like, what are the numbers that show that housing is becoming more affordable by these measures, and if it's not, what's the cause, and find real solutions. I'm not sure that any one person or group has the answers for that. It's a tough issue for sure, but it does seem like we should be able to see the results and be able to, rather than just new measures, let's give it some time and see if the measures that have been passed are working.
You make a really good point, because every single year we see legislation that involves development and land use for municipalities, and yet we've never seen anything after that said we passed this law on to you, and this is the affordable housing that we got out of it. We've never seen anything like that, but we see new legislation every single year, and so that's a very good point.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and I think that the idea was just exactly what Sean stated, was this is to open conversation and to get, West Haven still sits, and I toss the numbers out lightly, and I've said this before, we sit at a 60-40 ratio of single family to multifamily. So we have also, as West Haven, have allowed smaller lots to be built in our area. And what happens? We saw this a couple of weeks ago. It was very clear where we had patio homes planned for a certain area. Ended up being a little different, but you know, the cost is not there where they're still building big homes, big expensive homes on these smaller lots. So the advantage is not the things that we've been asked to do that, is moving forward. So I think that as we open that conversation and talk about it, let's try and figure out, some solutions. And I know that we've had several discussions in WACOG with a housing group that has met, a committee that has met. We've had discussions and talked about some of these things, but it's really difficult. And I think all the cities around need to come to some conclusions on what their role is. But one glove does not fit all.
Right.
And I think that's why utilizing the California model sometimes isn't the best way. We need to be individualized a little bit more and know that West Haven has a ratio that's way above any other Weber County area. So I appreciate any support on that. But anyway, we'll move forward with that. Is there any other discussion on this?
I would move to adopt resolution number 04-2024, rejecting the findings and conclusion of the Utah Legislative Auditor General's report number 2023-16, a performance audit of Utah housing policy.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this resolution? Okay, we'll do a roll call on that. Councilmember Morse?
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Call?
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab?
Aye.
And Councilmember Saunders?
Aye.
Okay, that's majority. Thank you very much again for that. I appreciate that. And if you have any questions, or as we get contact with our legislation or anyone else that we feel is important, we'll keep the council notified so that you can either attend or be involved with those discussions if needed, for sure. Okay, we'll move on to item 14. And before we do that, I would like to just again thank our city manager for being here. We're glad to have him. If there's, he has been going at it. I know I took some time today with him, and I know he has a hugely busy schedule. So I know he's trying to get through as much as he can. And if there's anything we can do to help him, we'll jump in and help him as much as possible. But thank you for being here, and we appreciate everyone for being here in the audience as well tonight. And we'll move on to item 14 for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.